Time passed, but nothing changed. No, of course it changed, but slowly, especially in the domestic auto industry. When it appeared, the seventh, many people looked at it and said, Mercedes. Well, there is a grille, so it is. The world auto industry was driving at such a speed that the USSR understood, a little more and we will never catch up. On the other hand, what is it to us, the distant West? The recipe was always ready. We take the old man and decorate him in any way. New jacket, hat, false teeth, and voila. And the VAZ 2107 turned out from the VAZ 2105. And whoever says that it is ugly can get up and go out. And the one who understands can stay and remember, as in that old song, how young we were, how sincerely we loved, how we believed in ourselves. And how not to believe. Shiny grille sticking out in front, is there? There is. Fashionable plastic bumpers with a shiny lining, worse than the fifth model, is there? There is. Few people remember, but VAZ 2105 was called Standard, VAZ 2104 was called Station Wagon, and 2107 is luxury. Luxury, comrades, and this is without irony. The seventh is the elegance of design solutions. A little here, a little there, and over there. And here it is, recognizable. Let's take a look at the back. Another trunk lid, it is without stampings. Other taillights, more European. Again, the bumper is plastic. See the headrests? And that's it, it's different, recognizable. Pay attention to the nameplate, Zhiguli 1500L. Subsequently, this nameplate disappeared. Even by today's standards, this is a very valuable thing. A piece of insulation on the lid. Do you know why? Smart people have suggested. The fact is that from the factory there was a seal so that the wire would not scratch the paint. But then no one removed this insulation, it fell off by itself. The trunk has not changed, the same complex geometry of space, covered with plastic panels, rugs and dust. 100 gallons. But how do you get them in there? What is unique about this car, you ask? And the fact that it has a minimum mileage and it is almost identical to the new car that was exhibited at the car dealership. Here is a complete set. A spare wheel, a stupid jack. And now we will look down and you will see that there is not a single drop of either anti-corrosive or mobile on the body. All the bolts and nuts are like from the factory. When else will you see such a phenomenon? What a pity that I am no longer young. What a beauty. There is complete virginity. There are even droplets of anti-gravity hanging. Yeah. This is a time machine. My blogger friends saved it. Interior, we'll leave it for later. There is a complete understanding of such a thing as Soviet luxury. Beautiful. Under the hood is the most torquey Soviet engine. No, it was placed, of course, not only on the 7th. It was born for a more beautiful car, which I have already talked about. But the fact is the fact. It was not more powerful. 91 cubic inches, a little over 70 horsepower, how much more? It's different, apparently. They are achieved at just over 5,000 revolutions per minute. The maximum torque is 116 newtons at 3750, in short, a supercar. Of course, the chain. We have an early machine, which means carburetor. But there are still factory seals, because this car has not yet been run in. This carburetor, probably, I can sort out with my eyes closed. I shudder to think. Ignition is cam. The joke is begging. The lid is transparent. And the smell. The smell of fresh paint. This is just a miracle. Well, the interior of the car became the top of creativity. If the bodywork and chassis were unified with the entire classic family, then the designers recouped at the interior. Well, okay, let's get inside. Oh my God. Well, the doors close the same way, as in all Zhiguli. But when you turn the key in the ignition, you see all this beauty. There are control lights in the middle. This curved protective plexiglass that covers the devices. Everything is monumental, everything is beautiful, the keys. But the stupid landing, however, has not gone away. The most striking were the chairs, the back and headrest are one, and it was fashionable. And the torpedo? Why do we need foreign cars if this is a starship? Proper Soviet interplanetary spacecraft. Ventilation. Now it was possible to cool the face in summer or warm it in winter. There is additional ventilation. Everywhere safety soft plastic, velour, and pile. By the way, Soviet citizens did not appreciate the invention. They pulled them out to hell and inserted a radio receiver here because it was beautiful. A hard ceiling, unlike a stretch one in 2105. This is luxury, comrades. This is luxury, and nothing else. And of course, the steering wheel. And only when you start the engine, you realize that these are ordinary Zhiguli. Just elegant. Acceleration time to 60 miles per hour with a driver 17 seconds, with a passenger 19. Yes, they measured this figure accurately, but that doesn't mean anything. The girl will not understand the difference anyway, and for family people this is not the main thing, in contrast to the consumption. 4 gallons per 100 miles. This is how I think Zhiguli's consumption all my life. Such an average temperature in the hospital. No, probably 3.5 is also possible, but this is if with a tailwind and downhill. Well, here are 4 with a margin, calmer, and put a 4-gallon canister in the trunk, just in case, just to be sure. The front suspension is independent, spring on 2 wishbones with anti-roll bar. Disc brakes, while new, work very well, if not compared with a foreign car. And at that time they did not compare, so that you know. At the rear, a dependent spring rigid beam connected to the body by 1 transverse and 4 longitudinal rods and drums. Worm steering wheel, reliable not. Even if something falls apart. If the pendulum gets tired, you need to tighten it up there, twist something up there, and it will be enough for several tens of thousands of miles more. I know, it's uncomfortable, scary, but on the other hand, you are sure that you will always get there, drive through, come back, and you won't break down on the way. By the way, about the seats at the 7th. For all their visual aesthetic beauty, these are the same stupid Zhiguli seats. With a short pillow under your feet, a short back that rests against your shoulder blades, and the same stupid landing, knees pressing the steering wheel with a sagging back. But first of all, it's beautiful. Remember the jokes about the pagers? Man, why do you need 6 pagers on your belt? First of all, it's beautiful. If you ask what is the most common car in Russia today, I will answer, among all brands in general and Zhiguli in particular, this is the VAZ 2107. More than 1.5 million cars. No joke, the 7th was released from 1983 to 2014, and in Egypt until 2014. By the way, the car was also made in Ukraine. Exported everywhere, and to Western countries too, and not in the poorest countries, England and Sweden. Unfortunately, by the end of its life, the VAZ 2107 was greatly simplified, made bad taste. But still, there was demand, and the refusal to produce the car was forced, since a star, Lada Granta, was entering the series. WBM was called the 7th, wannabe Mercedes. And everyone dreamed of the 7th, even I dreamed of the 7th, although I had a VAZ 2105. But the 7th was more desirable than the 8th. Believe it or not, even the operator dreamed of the 7th. We all dreamed of the 7th, because it was a small Mercedes. We all had a dream of this small domestically produced Mercedes, and today my little dream came true. I am driving a new car with a mileage of 1,640 kilometers, which even has a factory hymen. Don't misunderstand me, this expression is, a carburetor with a hymen, you've seen it. 1,500 break-in revolutions, new suspension, new car in '89. Do you understand? Do you understand at all what is happening? I even get goosebumps. I'm driving a new 1989 Zhiguli. In 1989, I could not even dream of a car, and now I'm driving a new car. Well, comrades, and what a smell! To understand what Soviet cars smelled like, you need to sit in a Soviet car, not in the Russian car, which for some reason began to smell of phenol and formaldehyde, but in the Soviet one. I don't know why the smell is different. The plastics must have been different. By the way, an interesting thing about plastic, while I remembered, the grille and bumper here are Italian. Because all the bumpers in those plastics that were originally used on the VAZ 2107 were destroyed under the influence of sunlight. So it's Italian here. Here is such a story. Time is merciless. We're getting old. The classics aren't. It would be surprising if it were the other way around. Love the classics.